Hello YouTube, this is Alexis, the transgender duelist, and today I'm going to be bringing you a deck profile for Kuribos. And for those of you who don't know, Kuribos are a small series / archetype of level 1 fiend type monsters that discard themselves from the hand to do a variety of different effects. The original Kuriboh allowed you to go ahead and discard it so that you can reduce the battle damage from 1 direct attack to 0, with subsequent Kuribohs doing different things depending on which one it was. Like, for example, you have Spear Kuriboh, which can force a monster in defense. You have Rainbow Kuriboh, which can basically prevent a monster from being able to attack. You have Junk Kuriboh, which just negates effect damage. And you have Clear Kuriboh, who can just kind of discard itself to prevent your monsters from burning you. They have a lot of different utilities, but they're all sort of random. So before we got the introduction of Kuriboh Horn over here, it was actually impossible to really make a good Kuriboh deck. I mean, good and Kuriboh don't really go in the same sentence, but my point remains the same. So I went ahead and did a lot of testing, and this is the build that I ended up with at the very end. So let's go ahead and get on with it here. We're running triple Battle Fader. Battle Fader's in here because it's a level 1 monster. It's a fiend type monster. It's a hand trap, and it does special summon itself to prevent your opponent from being able to kill you. And additionally, you can combine it with the Rainbow Kuriboh so that you can get 2 monsters on the field at once. You can also combine it with Kuriboh Horn if you want to have 5 monsters on the field at the end of your opponent's turn. You know, provided they don't have Mageki or Dark Hole or anything like that. So all you have to do is chain them together and you'll have 5 monsters on the field. You can also chain with Rainbow Kuriboh to have 2 monsters on the field. So do keep that in mind that you can chain them together. We got the triple clear Kuriboh. Triple clear Kuriboh has the ability to negate things like Gaga Cowboy or Cubic Crimson Nova, but for the most part, that's not really the reason why you're running it at 3. The reason why you're running it at 3 is because 1, it's a Kuriboh name, which is perfect for Kuriboh Horn, who we'll be getting to shortly. And when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to go ahead and draw 1 card. And then if it's a monster, you can special summon it to whatever your opponent is declaring an attack with. So it can be a nice little utility card, especially if you draw into Kuriboh Horn over here. We're running 1 Dystopia the Despondent. I know a lot of people say this card is really, really bad, and it's definitely not a really good card, but in a Kuriboh deck, it's still nice to have this card in there as a one-of, just because with Kuriboh Horn, you can guarantee this thing summon, which means you have a 5k beater on the field that can sort of protect itself, sort of not protect itself, if you get what I mean. Like, it's not very good, but it's just in here because you have the ability to summon it very easily, and because it's basically another boss monster for the deck. Running double Junk Kuriboh. I was going to bump this up to 3 just because Wavering Eyes is at 3 now, but I mean, this deck doesn't really have much of a benefit against Wavering Eyes in the first place, so I decided to just keep it as a 2-of just because it's only good against the Pendulum-based matchups, and if you're up against something like, say, Cubics or Infernities or Firewall.deck, your Junk Kuriboh is just not going to do anything. So I decided to just keep it as a 2-of, just because I feel like that's a better ratio to running 3 of this card. At a 2, you're going to see it just enough for it to be relevant, and at 3, you're going to be bricking it way too often. Running triple Kuriboh Bandit, which is also the only other monster in this entire deck that is not level 1. Basically, normal summon it, and then during the end phase, you can mill 5 and then add a spell card among them to your hand. I know I'm not running a very big spell lineup, but the fact that I have spells that I can add off of Kuriboh Bandit is pretty good, but you're mostly using it so that you can get your Kuriboh Horn into the graveyard really, really quickly, and hopefully a lot of other Kuriboh names so that you can special summon them. Running 1 of the OG Kuriboh just because, well, I wanted to have more than just the 3 targets for Blue Summoning Kuriboh, so I decided to run a single of the normal Kuriboh. I never actually get to use this thing in a duel, though. Again, I'm always either milling it or using it for a Link Summon or something along the lines of that. But it's still nice to have, just in case your opponent tries to go for game and you need that 1 extra hand trap for whatever your opponent's attacking you with. We're running triple Kuriboh Horn. Kuriboh Horn here is in here because it's basically the thing that ties the entire Kuriboh theme together. So it has two really powerful effects. The first effect is that when it's in the graveyard, when your opponent declares an attack, you can banish it to special summon as many Kuribos as possible from your graveyard. And I just want to point out that this includes Link Kuriboh down here because it is a Kuriboh monster. So that means that if you have, like, say, 3 Link Kuribos in your graveyard, you can go ahead and special summon out all of them. And then you can go ahead and make a Nashadia, the World Chalice Warrior, during your next turn. Or you can use them as Link fodder for Chopalonder Bomber Dragon, which I'll be getting to shortly. All around, just a really good card. Also has the ability to pitch itself from the hand or special summon a monster destroyed in battle this turn, but that's not really relevant because all your monsters don't really get destroyed in battle. They normally get destroyed by card effects, or they get pitched from the hand to the graveyard, so that's not really relevant in a Kuriboh-based deck. Running 1 Max C. I'm not really going to explain Max C. It's pretty much self-explanatory. We're running triple Rainbow Kuriboh. Rainbow Kuriboh is in here because it's a hand trap that can stop your opponent from being able to attack, and if you have it in the graveyard, combining it with Battle Fader makes it so your opponent is unable to continue their battle phase, and you have 2 level 1 monsters that can be used for a Link summon or an Exceed summon or whatever it is you're trying to do. Not really a lot to say. That's basically why it's in here. Really good. Running 3 Relink Kuriboh. Relink Kuriboh is in here as 3-up because if you use it in combination with Link Kuriboh down here, you're able to tribute off the Relink Kuriboh, get out the Link Kuriboh, and then Relink Kuriboh will let you draw 1 card. Triple Spear Kuriboh just in here because it's a hand trap Kuriboh and keeps us from dying. Not really a lot else to say there. Triple Wing Kuriboh because it's special summonable from the deck with Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, as well as being the only one that just flat out keeps us from dying with only 1 card. Because if you summon into your opponent's monsters, if they attack it, then you take no more battle damage that turn, and if you set it on your first turn, your opponent has game, and they run into a Wing Kuriboh, well then they're just going to have to accept that they can't kill you that turn. So it's just there to be a defensive option. We're running 1 Dark Hole. This could be a Regeki, it could be a Dark Hole. To be honest, I never ever have a monster on the field, so I can usually just activate Dark Hole for free. Running 1 Foolish Burial because we want to get the Sophia into the graveyard. Triple Instant Fusion. Go ahead and go into Thousand Restrict, who can then go into a Link Kuriboh, basically turning it into a +1 if you ask me, because you use the 1 card to go ahead and get rid of one of your opponent's cards to summon out another monster that helps out your win conditions. I know it's technically a +0, but whatever. This is my deck profile. I'm going to say what I want to say. We got a 1/1. We got 1 for 1. 1 for 1 is in here because everything in your deck that's relevant is a level 1 monster. So you can easily use this to summon out any Kuriboh that you want at that particular moment, with the exception of Curry Bandit. Got double Pot of Equivities. You could bump this up to 3, but I found that at 3 I was drawing it when I didn't have enough cards managed for it to be relevant. And at 2 I'm finding it just often enough that I always have enough targets to use it when I draw into it. That's why it's in here as a 2-of instead of a 3-of, as a lot of the Kuribohs actually banish themselves from the graveyard to do stuff. And then triple Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, so that we're able to special summon out Wing Kuriboh or search Kuriboh when in a pinch, depending on what we need at that particular moment. So the extra deck is basically where the power of the Kuribohs lie. I mean, you could, technically speaking, build a Kuriboh Ritual deck or a Kuriboh Tribute deck, but I like running it as a rank 1 spam type of deck. So we're running the double Thousand Restrict because Thousand Restrict is summoning off Instant Fusion. It's a level 1 monster, and it can steal your opponent's monsters, allowing you to get rid of a problematic threat before going into a Link Kuriboh. We got 1 Ghost Trick Doll Hand. I only run 1 of it because it's not really that good anymore. I mean, yeah, I can push down a monster down to, like, generally speaking, like around 1250 attack points, but it itself is only going to be about 1200, so it's not going to be strong enough to actually kill whatever your opponent has on the field. We got Crime and Punishment over here, AK number 31 and number 13. So you might not think this, but it's actually possible to summon Crime and Punishment in this deck. But the problem is that because of Master Rule 4, you now need to have 6 monsters as opposed to 4 monsters, which is a lot to be asking. The only way you're going to be able to summon it is with Kirby Horn over here, which is why they're both as just one of. It's just because you can still summon them, but it's really, really hard to summon it. And if you're wondering how you summon it, basically you go ahead and use a level 1 monster, summon out Link Kuriboh, then use 2 more level 1 monsters to excuse summon into one of the 2 monsters. And then you go ahead and use another level 1 monster, summon out another Link Kuriboh in the other extra monster zone. And then you go ahead and summon out the other number, the other 31 or 13, whatever you don't have at that particular moment. It takes a lot of resources. It's very situational, but it's still nice to have that option just in case. But you're free to just drop those 2 if you so pick. Running triple number 54. Number 54 is in here because it's a secondary boss monster for the Kuriboh deck. Basically, summon it out and slam into your opponent's boss monsters, and they'll take generally between 2,400 to 3,000 damage, depending on what it is. I actually was playing as a poor Kuriboh player earlier, and they just didn't have an out to Lionheart. They kept trying to put it in my extra deck, and I just kept summoning out a new one next turn. One Slacker Magician. Slacker Magician's in here because it's a defensive card for when we need it. Never really go into it, so you can drop it if you wish. Double Sylvan Princess Sprite. Best rank 1 monster. Not really going to say much about that. Draw power. Then we got the triple Link Kuriboh. So I know I generally do TCG-based archetypes, but I feel like the Kuriboh deck without Link Kuriboh is just not a deck at all. See, Link Kuriboh is actually really good within the deck because 1, everything's level 1 monster. 2, with Relink Kuriboh, you're able to draw a card by summoning this thing out from the graveyard. And 3, it allows you to just play the defensive stall / grind game, which in my opinion is where Kuriboh excels at. I mean, they're not the best deck at it, but they're definitely pretty good at it. Running 1 Nagasu, the World Chalice Warrior. This is in here because with Kirby Horn, you're able to very easily get out 3 Link Kuribohs from your graveyard, and unless your opponent runs over them, you can summon out this guy really easily on your next turn. Just gotta be careful of those Solemn Strikes and Solemn Warnings because that can definitely hurt you really, really bad. The one thing you do have to be careful of, though, is that you are giving your opponent an extra monster zone by doing this, but it does allow you to get rid of a problematic monster that your opponent may have on the field, so I still think it's worth it. And then we're running 1 Topple Armor Bomber Dragon. This is in here because it's really easy to summon in a Kuriboh deck thanks to Kirby Horn. It has a really good anti-meta effect where if your opponent has a bunch of, if they're going for a link spam strategy and you drop this thing on them, they can no longer go for that link spam strategy, as Topple Armor Bomber Dragon will just continuously destroy any link monster that's not summoned to the extra monster zone. So it's just a really, really deadly strategy for them to have to deal with. Additionally, it can also be used to burn your opponent for damage whenever it runs over something, and you can also trigger the destruction yourself by simply summoning out any Kuriboh and then linking it up into a Link Kuriboh. The field will get nuked, and you can attack them directly for 3,000 damage. So it's just here to be like a finisher Link monster. And that's all for my Kuriboh deck profile. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Not really much more to say there. Lexus, and I'm signing out.